they'd get the title because of all the COVID thing. So I suppose weirdly, with the way they've done it, sort of running away with it, and the COVID thing, like you say, I think it'll be remembered sort of even more so. But I think everyone would agree in football before even the lockdown and this unfortunate thing that's happened to the world, not just our country, but I think we all thought they're worthy, that's for sure. And it would have been a shame not to have finished the season and not to allow them to seen it through properly. But I still think they'd have been worthy of the title, that's for sure.
And they said that teams are built on managers' images. I guess you'd say that of Jurgen Klopp and the way he goes about things. I mean, he's a driven individual, and that's a driven football team, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's built over time, though. I will say that, and I think sometimes people forget that. He's afforded that time by moulding a team, of course. He spent heavily, but with the right players. Van Dijk, for me, is best centre-half in the world. He's matured as a player. He doesn't just play as an individual. When he was slightly younger, maybe that's like a trait of a younger player. But now, with his maturity, I think he's first class on every level. And he's been a massive, massive player for him, in my opinion, on the change to be close, then to be in the real thing. And the keeper as well, to be fair, I think he's been marvellous. So, but there's some. I do think Jordan Henderson, for me, I said it in the Champions League final last year in an awkward game, boiling hot. He did all the ugly stuff that the team need from a player like him. So I think there's many players there that have done fantastically well.
Are they one of the only teams that are as fit or fitter than you?
Well, look, let's have it right. It depends how you define fitness, the way you play, the way you want to play, the players you've got, their physical capacity, and their makeup physically. So I don't want to start getting involved in what we've got, but I think they are a fit side. I think I think it's more their alertness. I said the other night at Man City, and I said to our players afterwards, I said, look, of course they have talent, but it's their alertness, how quickly they see the picture, how quickly they smell the chance to affect games on counter or with quality, from set pieces as well. But mainly as the game is in flow, they break up the play quickly and they react quickly. So on transition, which I think has been a big change in the Premier League over the last 2 to 3 seasons, that rapid exchange of transition and knowing when to keep the ball to calm the game down, but when to go for the throw. And I think they found a really good balance for that.
Are they head and shoulders with City above everyone else, or is this gap going to close with the likes of Chelsea spending money, United looking to get their kind of house in order, or are those two just too far apart?
No, I don't think it's as simple as that, football. Because every year you think, well, I mean, let's face it, we didn't think this was going to happen to Liverpool. I personally thought they'd do it this year, but I thought it'd be close. Well, it hasn't been. I'd be very surprised if it wasn't a closer affair next season. I don't think at this stage I can see the top 6 being really broken, although Leicester are continually spending. Not just spending, by the way, they're developing as well. Everton have had a real go. So there are teams just on the edge of it. But breaking into them big teams is very, very difficult, especially when they've got a bank of players and a depth of players and a playing staff of really high quality. So whether them two can get affected, there's a chance. As you said, Man U are finding their feet slowly but surely. I'd be amazed if they don't invest powerfully like they usually do. Chelsea look like they're definitely investing. Arsenal maybe transition. Tottenham may be different. We don't know yet. And when the season when this season finishes and the next season starts, amongst others. But they're the main runners and riders, and I'll be surprised if they're not again.
And Jurgen Klopp dancing last night. I don't imagine you're a dancer. I know you like your music, but I don't think you're a dancer, right?
Au contraire, love my dancing. Well known for it. I've got a couple of moves. And we were talking about this actually on Crouch's podcast the other day, and Michael Keane's got a nice little shot of me moving when we got the second promotion. So, I quite like a dance. Don't worry about that.
Quick feet for a big man.
I'm not sure about quick feet. I didn't say anything about my style, did I? Just cut a few shapes and hope for the best.
On the drive home last night, did you reflect on a strong end to a strange, odd week?
Yeah, odd on the pitch, odd off the pitch. For varying reasons, different challenges, and I said after, it doesn't solve everything by any means, but what it does, it just reminds our players and our staff and the club, we are a football club. There are other things that have happened that have affected that, but at the end of the day, we're there to play football. So it was refreshing to get out there and get on with that side of things. And like I say, it doesn't solve everything by any means, but at least it brings us back to, okay, we've got a job to do, and that's to play football, Manchester, and to win. So the focus was on that, and I thought the players were fantastic because it has been a tough time for the club and for the players, and myself in many ways. So it's good to see the clarity of performance come out and win a game.
Yeah, I read your remarks, and they sounded, when I talk about your remarks about the chairman and about the players that have been allowed to leave or have left, that they sounded fed up. And I saw you on the touchline last night. You looked anything but fed up.
Well, I think it's important to remember that I've been doing this 7.5 years. It's like people think there hasn't been challenges there. I can assure you, every year's a challenge. I say it all the time. I try and be open and honest, and you've known me a long time. I try and call it how it is. That's all it was. I called it how it is. And as I said last night, people suggested that it was the first time in 7.5 years. Well, if I was a board member or a chairman, I'd be pretty happy with that. If my manager was only asking me questions once every 7.5 years. But there's lots of challenges there, and sometimes you've got to remember, got a group of players asking questions as well. So sometimes they have to see the manager, make a statement and stand up, because they've got to know that you're with them as well. But the main thing for me is to have a bond, and it's through the club. And sometimes that gets stretched. It's simple as that. And on this occasion, it's been stretched. It's simple.
But not broken, just stretched.
No, we're getting on with business. That's what we do. I still have I'm a professional, it sounds ridiculous, but I do remind the players of that. It says on your passport, professional footballer. It doesn't just say footballer. So, there is that as well. There's a professionalism inside of yourself. Certainly last night, nothing was going to get in the way of my professionalism with the team, regardless. And you saw the players acting professionally and responsibly. To take away some of the noise around all these situations and get on with it and deliver a performance. And, without being a classy performance, it was still a performance that was enough to win a game.
Yeah, but it's also a performance by the same group of players twice in the space of 4 days, wasn't it?
Yeah, marvelled at that. As I do, though. I mean, boiling hot, the fitness, the endeavour. I think we ran 5K in the first game more than anyone else. Obviously, it's difficult at Man City. You often run more because they keep the ball so well. But still, 5K is a lot. You're looking at nearly half a player's distance if you're looking at 5.5, 6K. So, and then to repeat that and go and run hard again, even under some pressure as well from Watford, credit to them as well. The second half, the first 20, 25 minutes, I thought we were pretty dominant first half, but they really put the pressure on us. And to see through that and then still find that way to grow back into the performance and nick a good goal, I think I'm very pleased with that. And as you rightly said, same group of players, putting them out there and going, no excuses, lads. This is the task. This is what we're going to do.
What's the prognosis on Jay Rodriguez? Have you got him in for Monday, do you think?
Yeah, we were getting him off anyway. He got a knock on the ankle, but he felt his hamstring. Now, we're hopeful it's nothing serious. I'll find out more later today, but we hope it's nothing serious. So it's a decision. Obviously, we're running out of players rapidly, so we had to take him off regardless. I wouldn't want to take him off normally, especially in a game that's tight like that, because I thought he had that way about him last night where you just think he might nick another one. And we had to take him off. So I'll find out more today, but I'm hopeful that it's not drastic.
And Robbie Brady and Chris Wood, I mean, they appear to be at the kind of front of the queue. Are they any nearer to being involved, perhaps?
Robbie's just got a minor sort of stretch in his adductor, so we're hopefully might train this week again. We're waiting on that. I'll find out more, like I say, that today when they've been assessed. Any time now, actually, I should be getting a call from the physios. Woody's doing well. He's in front of the curve, but we're just having to be careful because we want him right, obviously. And Barnes is behind the curve, so that's going to be a little bit yet. But no, Woody's going along nicely, and Johan's going well as well. But like I say, Johan's had a funny time with a tricky sort of calf situation where it just keeps niggling. So, yeah, again, we've got to give him more time than we probably normally would to make sure he's strong and fit enough to come into the team and actually deliver.
And at the risk of upsetting you, people will talk about motivation. Now you've got 42 points on the board, but that would offend you, wouldn't it? Anyone talk about motivation and deck chairs and that sort of stuff?
No. You understand the train of thought. It's been a strange time for me, strange time for the players. We are limited with the squad numbers. So, I'm not going to start saying anything other than my intention is to play hard and play strong. I think the team will go about it in the right way. We normally do. But the first, nothing's statistically done yet, of course. But, 42 points at this stage is a fair marker. And especially with so many question marks coming out of the COVID situation and then, getting a well beat against Man City and then all that went on, I think to come through that is a real testament to the professionalism of the players. So we'll park that now and we'll get on with the next games as they come.
And final point, 12th clean sheet the season last night in the Premier League. Only Liverpool and City have got more. How proud are you of that?
Well, to be honest, the balance, I'm proud of that, but I'm also proud of the fact I think we're the fifth highest in wins. So I've always said, it's one of them funny things. People said, we defend to counter. We try and win, We do try. It's just that the other team are often very good. And it's hard to get out of that counter position because you peg back. And, 12 wins is a decent tally at this stage of the season. So, I'm happy with that as well. And the balance you're looking for is quite obviously, keep clean sheets and score a goal, you've got a very good chance. And we've done that well, mostly over the season. We had a real tough spell, as you know, but we came out of that, with a real strong spell. So that's often the case in our seasons. It's very rare it's smooth sailing all the way through. And this certainly hasn't been. But we're at 42 points and 7 to go. So if we had a few more players back, I think we'd be in very good shape. As it is, I still think it's going to be a challenge over them 7 games for the group that we've got.
Top stuff. Nice to see you as well.
Cheers, James. Good man.
See you later. Cheers.
Thanks, James. James Burford, PLP.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Sean. James here. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, I'll let you have a little glass of water.
Yeah, sorry.
Just a couple of questions from me, mate. When just something you touched upon earlier, when players run as much as yours do, you were saying a minute ago, it seems like a real vote of confidence in you and your methods. That must feel really nice.
Well, I think the thing is, because you've been there, or I've been there, 7.5 years, and my staff have as well. And so we've built a mentality, not just a physicality. And I think we've built a way of working that the players know what's required in no uncertain terms. And, we talk a lot about automaticity, which is basically the ability to not have to flick the switch. You're ready. You're always ready. And that's because you're doing it right all the time. So when you need it, when you need to work at your performance and you need that extra small percentage that is often the difference, then it's there for you. And we've done that over a long period of time. But I must say, I think the way the players have looked after themselves in the lockdown, that's quite evident. And I did say that at Man City. We got well beat, but that can happen at Man City. But you're looking beyond the results sometimes and going, well, how did we look? What was the energy like? What was the endeavour? What was the intention like? And I thought it was very good. So sometimes you've got to look beyond the result, and we certainly did that night. And like I say, last night we come out the traps very, very strong first half. Had to defend well for the 25-minute second half. But overall, I think we deserved the win.
Tired legs, though, I imagine. I imagine there's some people training over the next couple of days that'll be feeling it somewhat.
Yeah, I'm always a bit wary of this sort of stuff. If you look at some of the different sports around the world, I can assure you there's a lot of people putting a lot more miles on the clock than footballers do. But in balance to that, there's a lot of outside noise in football as well. There's a lot of, and especially lately, obviously, for many different reasons. So don't get me wrong, there's a different demand. There's the physicality of football as well, the pressure that's associated with it and all these big games. So it is challenging physically. But I still think, well, let's put it this way. I was, when everyone was talking about the games and how many games, if you remember, I said, no, bring it on. That's the way it is. Whatever they're going to play, then that's what we do. And I think the players now have support systems that are way in advance of when I was playing. And also they look after themselves far better. They're better physically and they're capable of more loading, if you like, on their bodies. Is it a challenge? Of course it is. The main thing for me, actually, was not about the physical side. It's about the heat. I think that's one of the challenges because, it's a summer season. Well, summer mini season that we haven't done before. Some of the international players obviously do, and we have got some internationals, but generally speaking, our squad isn't used to playing summer football.
And then just finally, is it starting to feel somewhat normal, this new approach to the Premier League? Are you getting used to the slightly new routines?
I think like all of us, you do, you adapt very quickly to any challenge of your life and any change in your life. I think you do adapt, and it strangely becomes, I can't say it's a norm by any means, but it becomes a norm for this sort of intermediate, or what we hope is an intermediate spell going back to normality. I must say, I think the guidelines have been clear. They've been, I must say, almost over stringent. Some of the stuff we're doing is not what the world's doing, that's for sure. But fair play to the Premier League. I think they've guided us well. I think they've adjusted well. They've given every opportunity to try and get this to work, and it is working. And the TV companies as well, because I personally watch the games. I quite like the crowd noise, and I think, you watch the game, it's slightly different as managers and coaches because we tend to analyse the game more than worry about what's going on. But as a supporter, would I accept it? I think I would. And most people who are, friends of mine who are not in football, they've loved it. They said, yeah, look, it's not the same as with a crowd, but the crowd noise, the feel of it, your eyes zone into the game probably slightly more. So far, so good, in my opinion.
Enjoy the beer in the sun, Sean. Thank you.
Yeah, I will do. Excuse
Thanks,
me.
James. It'd be Simon. I think that's you there. It's like identity is hidden to protect the
Has he been on the rob?
BBC Sport.
He's been on the rob. Look, that's why they got him.
That's what it is. Yeah.
You know, they put the thing over. They do the voice.
I'm in my son's bedroom. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, but anyway.
There you go.
Sean, you've spoken about being at the club 7.5 years and the work you've done, barring some kind of like a mathematical miracle. You'll be in the Premier League for the 5th successive year next season, which is as many as the club has been in total since it came out of the league in the 50 years ago, 1970 odd. But you're also competing against sides you've just mentioned there, like Everton, looking to get into the top 6. How hard is that? And what are the challenges that you face having to compete against teams like that, many of whom are below you in the table now?
Well, the quite obvious thing is finance. You know, if you look over my years at Burnley, I think our average net spend is about 9 million a season. And if you look then at the talent we've got on the pitch and the worth what's on the pitch, I think it's fair to say there's a heavy positive adjustment to that. So that's the biggest challenge, because you can develop quality, but developing quality takes time. The Premier League doesn't wait. It doesn't give you time. It's not saying, yeah, you just take your time and we'll see what happens. It's saying you need to get results, so you need to get them immediately. So that's the difficulty, is building something when you're always financially quite considerably behind the curve, whether it be in wages or contracts. So it takes time, but you've got to win enough during that period of time while the players develop and learn about what they're doing in the Premier League. And I think we've adjusted well at times. We've had challenges when it hasn't gone as well. And then more recently, you know, I felt strongly that if we could keep the group together going into the final games, we're just unbeaten in 7. We got to 10th, a good points tally as well at that stage, with 9 to go. Then you never know. You might really be looking up. It's not that we're not looking up. It's just quite obviously it's a bigger challenge when you've got kind of 14 fit players and 3 of them, recognised players, first-team players, and 3 of them are on the bench of defenders. So, you know, it makes the challenge more difficult. But I've got a very competitive group. We saw that last night. An energy and a belief in how we work, and that was delivered last night. So who knows? We'll see where we can take it from here.
Is that the difference at a football club? You're the manager. You're paid to deliver results. Fans don't really give you any kind of latitude for injuries or anything. They just want results on the pitch. The finance people are trying to balance the books, I suppose, and it's difficult at a club like yours where you are competing against clubs who are getting twice as many through the gate and can generate more money than you can.
Well, it is a challenge, but it's fair to say we're in considerably good financial shape. That's one thing that is for sure. And that's from years of planning and running at a pretty level cost base, you know, against the norms in the Premier League. So when this COVID came around, we're in good shape. We're very strong as a club. It's the risk and reward of finance. You know, who you buy for what reasons. Is there a guarantee? Not always, there isn't. And will we buy and then buy again and buy again? Absolutely not. Almost impossible at this club. It's hard enough to get 1 player, let alone 5, I can assure you. But some clubs, they'll take that risk. They will sign 2 or 3 players, and if it doesn't work, they'll sign 2 or 3 more. You know, we haven't had the ability to have that risk, so therefore every player is vital, every signing is vital. We have to do enormous amounts of background to make sure, or to try and make sure that we get the right signings, and you know, go the safer side of them signings to try and make it work. And like I said, it's not, you know, recently I've spoken out once in 7.5 years, but it's been there. You know, it's a constant thing. For those who know me, I was mentioning we've got to stretch the finance 2.5 years ago, and we finished 7th in the Premier League. So there is a reality to football. It might change. We don't know yet with COVID. The early signs are suggesting it's not going to change, because you'll all have seen the amounts of money getting talked about, individuals who are going to Chelsea and possibly going to Chelsea, Man United, etc., etc. So there's obviously big spending still there and still available. Will it soften the market down? We don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see. If that gives us a better opportunity, then so be it. If it doesn't, then I think it's unlikely in my time at Burnley that we're suddenly going to get a massive check to go out and sign players.
Is it a case of trusting your judgment? People trusting your judgment?
Well, in theory, but not always in practicality. I can't sign the checks, you know.
Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Ian Parker, PA.
Hi, Sean. We obviously heard from you last night again about further speculation on your own position. You talked about being committed in the moment to what was going on, but there wasn't mention of a longer-term commitment into next season. Do we read anything into that?
Well, I've got 2 years left on my contract, so that's the obvious thing you can read into it. I'm still here. I've been linked many times with other situations, and I'm still here. I'm working hard with the team. I want the team to be successful this year. So far, relatively, we have been, but can we take it further? Can we finish higher up the table each season? Or, difficult to beat the season we finished 7th. I've got to be honest. Doesn't mean it can't be done, but it is difficult to get up there. But can we finish better than last season? I believe. Well, we already have, obviously, points-wise and position-wise. So, can you keep nicking away at it? Can you keep building? It's a slow but steady progress, and see where that takes us. So that's my outlook. If that changes, that's the way it goes. I've said it for 7.5 years. There comes a time, one way or the other, things change. If that happens, it happens. But I'm still here, 7.5 years.
And you've talked a lot about distractions on and off the pitch. This is one of them. How important is it for you and your players to sort of draw a line under this for the rest of the season?
Well, it's not distracting to me, by the way. I don't know if you noticed. I was at it last night. Don't worry about that. I had to apologise afterwards for some of my loose language, let's say, because the microphones pick it up. But I was in the moment, and you get emotional, and it means a lot. And that game meant a lot. That win means a lot. So, no, I can assure you, I'm still active and I'm still involved. That's for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ian. Alex James, Links Live.
Hi, Sean. How you doing? Yeah, just following on from that question there. I guess the difference one of the differences this time around with the speculation is that previously it might have been linking you to another job, whereas this time it's just sort of linking you with calling it at Burnley and calling it a day in that regard. So I guess you can probably understand why the fans would like a little reassurance that you'll be there in the dugout on the first day of next season.
No, I think the truth is, I think people have just got bored with the story of linking me with other clubs. So they thought, let's just link it with no clubs and just say he's had enough. So, there's always got to be a story of some kind. So that's the story. And if people want to talk about it, it's up to them. I'm the only one that actually knows what's going on. No one else knows what's going on.
Fair enough. And I know you're not going to share that with us. So I'll move on to a different topic. When you say stretch the finance there, as you mentioned, sort of going back over the last 18 months or so, how do you envisage that happening at a club like Burnley, where the chairman doesn't take money out of the accounts? You've invested heavily off the field in the training ground, and you're debt free and want to stay debt free as a club. What would you like to sort of see done in terms of financial stretching? Is it just incremental gains, I guess?
Well, it's like I say, the thing that I've stated, and it's just a fact, by the way. There's no emotion to it. I don't sign the checks. I don't sign the contracts. So I can only put forward the idea that I think is correct for the club to move forward. And sometimes that's a shared view that happens. Sometimes it's not. So whatever I say is not actually going to make that much difference, because eventually someone has to sign off on them situations. So that's always the trickiest bit. We can all have plans, and we can all, fans often say, why don't you sign this player? Why don't you sign that player? And that's fine. But, and I say, well, that would be really great if I just literally signed the checks. But I don't. So therefore, it takes all parties to buy into any given situation to get it over the line. Yeah,
and as you say, we know Burnley aren't going to suddenly give you significant funds in the summer to go and sign 4 or 5 players. So it has to be a marginal gain and a gradual improvement, I suppose, rather than a complete reshaping of it.
Unlikely. The history suggests that we haven't spent fortunes each season, and if we have, we've normally sold someone in order to invest and balance out the situation. So, like I say, I think it's something like 9 million. You'd have to double check. I think it's a 9 million net spend across the seasons in the Premier League. And if you think in Premier League spending terms, that's minuscule. If you look across the table of spending. And usually the ones who are below us are ones who have sold one player for fortunes, for 50, 60, 70 million pounds, which has balanced their numbers, if you like, over a 5-year window. But look, it's life at Burnley. It hasn't changed in 7.5 years. It hasn't like we've had a radical season where they've gone, right, this is it, we're going to give you everything. So you kind of get used to it, but it doesn't mean you always just find it the norm, and therefore get on with it for no reason, of course I challenge that thinking, because we have to challenge each other to move forwards. That's how we have moved forward, by challenging each other, challenging the staff, the players, the club, to stay together, but also to grow. So it's an ongoing process, and it is a difficult process at times.
Just on the sort of fixture schedule, given the relentless nature of it and the limited numbers you're working with at the moment, have you had to adapt the way you work in terms of training schedules and the load-in, things like that, over the last week, or will continue to do so over the coming week?
Yeah, we've definitely had to do that. The good thing is, because I've been there a long time, we've got a lot of data on the players, where they should be, when they're in good shape to physically perform, the recovery periods, the way that we recover. And so we have got a backlog of it. Now, obviously, it doesn't stop injuries and the like. I mean, it might help prevent the muscle injuries, but obviously if you get a serious injury, there's nothing you can do about that. But it roughly gives you a guideline on where the players are at and are they capable to perform. But definitely with the loading, the in-between days of the games are really important. That sort of resting enough to recover, particularly with the heat and the draining effects sometimes that the heat can have. Not everyone. Some players really like the heat, but some players, it sort of drains them. And then finding the balance of that. So true rest, as in away from the building, with their families. Obviously, they can't do a lot at the moment anyway, slightly more, but not that much. But true rest away from the building, but then coming in and training enough to stay sharp and enough for the mental motivation and the physical motivation to continue to play hard throughout the remaining games. And
just lastly, on the injured lads, J-Rod aside, on the other four, are you hopeful that 1-2 might be available for Sheffield United? I realise that's sort of 10 days away yet.
There's a chance. We're not guaranteed, but there's an outside chance also.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks, everyone. That concludes the broadcast section. So we'll move on to the written stats. I'll just introduce them into the next phase. And we'll start that broadcast so you can get off there if that's okay. And Chris